we are live.
Yes. Welcome aboard the Tabletop Express, everybody. I'm here with Ryan. He's over there.
Hi.
Who's going to share his top 20 games tonight, but it's not just us. Not just us.
That's right. We have so I picked out tonight's special guest. We have a special guest for every top 20. And this guy I picked because I think this list is going to go pretty well I'll just bring him in. So his name is Chad Jacobson. How you doing, Chad?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. By the way, so Chad, thank you for joining us. You are part of one of my favorite podcasts, Punchboard Paradise. Are you sad that I said one of?
No,
Sorry.
I appreciate the mention. I appreciate the mention. And as a man of so many hobbies, I would expect you to have more than one favorite podcast.
I do.
Yeah.
But, I make an effort to listen.
Well, and I enjoy tuning into this too. So it's nice to be on. And even though I feel a bit naked without my compatriots, my other two amigos, Richie and Clef, I'm really happy that you asked me. Should be fun.
I know, and I don't want them to feel slighted that I asked you and not Richie and Clef.
They don't feel slighted. They know.
Okay, they'll know. Yeah, based on the the list.
That's right. They know.
So, but yeah, and you guys were on, I think in July of last year. There was an episode of On the Table. But I'm excited because tonight is my top 20. Yay!
Yeah.
And I see in the chat, I see Danielle's in the chat, and I see Brian in the chat. So I think we'll just jump right in. We have a long list of games to talk about.
Perfect.
Right? Okay. Before I jump in, though, I do want to mention how this list was put together. So I rate pretty much every game I play. And I took my 50 highest rated games and then did Pub Meeple to rank them into the 20. And then just went with it. Just like, that's it. Band-Aid off. So I do want to mention, honorable mention that won't be on this list, but it's a game I love talking about and I love teaching. And that's Cosmic Frog by Jim Felly is not here tonight. But, maybe it will be next year. There's a new expansion coming out, so that could change because that game is just ridiculous.
I didn't even know about that. That's exciting.
Yeah. It's called. So it's got a cool name. It's called Cosmic Frog Find Muck. So
that's awesome.
I'm surprised that one's not on your list, but I know some. I'm sure there's a few that I'll be right about being on this list, but that one I thought would be in towards the back end.
It came at number 25 when I did the rankings.
Okay.
So that was very close. Very close. It could leap forward. All right, I'm gonna stop because that's just terrible. And I see Mr. Rouse in the chat, and I see Dan's in the chat. Hey guys. All right, I'm gonna jump right in number 20. So my number 20 pick is a game that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, and that is Rococo Deluxe Edition. So this is designed by Matthias Kramer, Stefan Maltz, and Luis Maltz. This version is the updated edition version from Eagle Gryphon Games, and last year was on my list at number 16. It's dropped down a couple places, but I still love this game. In this game, you are competing tailors, just making dresses and suits for a ball thrown by, I believe, Louis XV. I don't know, whatever. But you're making these dresses and these suits, and you're either selling them for money or you're putting them out into the ball in like an area control kind of matter where you're trying to get majority in different ballrooms. And you're going to score a number of points based on where they are. You'll also, the main crux of this game is a deck builder. But what's interesting about this game is you get to decide your hand of cards for that round from your deck. And you're limited to what's in your deck. And then when it comes to you're an empty deck. You have to reshuffle everything, and not reshuffle, put everything from your discard back in, and then you have freedom to play around. So you're kind of planning this turn and the next turn in advance, but you're also constantly there's constant player interaction with deciding when to score a dress for either money and sell it, or place it out and give it away to someone to wear at the ball for victory points. And there's constant back and forth with grabbing different fabrics to build dresses. I love this game, and this I recently just played the jewelry expansion last year for the first time, and that was I don't see why you wouldn't play with it. It's just kind of thrown on top. Have you guys played this one?
You've talked about this one. I want to play this one. I didn't realize about that deck building aspect. That actually sounds really interesting to me because I love deck building, as you know. But the idea that you get to kind of pick that hand out, and then essentially are thinking another round ahead, that's really neat sounding to me. So I get the sense I'd really enjoy this one, but put it on the 2 playlist then, because this one sounds solid in my book.
All right, I'll add it to the list.
Heavy Cardboard always talks about this as the quintessential midweight Euro. That's their bench line. So everybody's different with complexity, right? But when they say midweight Euro, that's this game, and everything else falls either right in there, above, or below.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, that's what they always use. So I always think of that. But I love this game. Yeah, it's a great game. And one of my favorite things about this game is it plays. So this actual new edition, which is so great, has it has a solo deck. So if you're into solo, this actual version, the newest version, is great. Plus, I'm a slave for Ian O'Toole's art. It's awesome. Yeah. It's unbelievable. I love it. And so he does a great job with this. And then the other thing I would say is this is one of the few area control games that plays well at 2.
Yes.
There aren't very many of those. And there's a opposite side of the board that plays really well just even at 2, which is super rare.
Yeah. Absolutely right. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, this plays. I feel like I've only played it at low player counts too. I've only done 2 and 3 player. So I've never done the solo mode, which I want to try. I just haven't done it, but I will.
It's actually pretty easy. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Ian O'Toole artwork I think is great. The older version, I think Vincent Dutrait did the artwork of the older version. That one is also pretty. Actually, it's not Dutrait. I'm sorry, it's not Dutrait. It's someone else.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, it is. I have a lot of people that they already own the jewelry expansion and stuff, and they're just fine with with having the old version too. So
yeah, and that's right, because the thing about this game too. It's Michael Manzel. Sorry, Michael Manzel is the one that did the art. Yeah, he also did Adventures in Robin Hood and all that. Mm-hmm. So with this game, Eagle Griffin Games does sell it at kind of a high price. It's I think it's starting at $90 for the retail one, and then if you want the extra bits, it goes up to $112, and that's without the shipping too. Man, I should give that a shot. And yeah, Brian's right. So it is Squirrel's #1 game of all time, and he's the last person I played it with. I haven't done the solo. Yeah, look, Mr. Rouse saying the same thing, that it's ideal midweight Euro. 5-player games of it are insane. Have you done it at 5?
I have not, but I would love to do. I've done a 4, which is my max, and still it feels like everybody's trying to get their Versace on the person closest to the door. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about it too. You could really role play it, and
sure.
you if you go with that mindset, it's such a blast at the table. Get that table talk going on.
Yeah, you were talking about deck building. I mean, the great thing is you're actually firing people in your deck. So you're it's calling depute, But
right.
So we would always role play that. Oh man, what a horrible seamstress. Out,
And they have different rankings too.
Yeah,
There's and also because those cards, if you see in the first picture, they have different kinds of abilities they can do on the board depending on their mastery level. So the gold is the highest, and the silver than the bronze. Yeah, I love this one. Yeah, I can keep going on, but we have 19 more games to go. Okay, so my number 19 was also, I believe, number 19 last year. Yep, and that's Spirit Island. So Spirit Island, designed by R. Eric Royce, with tons of different artists, as you can see, um, is a game where it's a cooperative game where you are playing as a spirit on an island. And the idea is you are trying to fight off different invaders that are coming in, which are represented by these plastic pieces. And they're going to just effectively colonize and try to build in your land, and you're trying to scare them away or just do enough manipulation of the board where they're just going to be all gone. And this game, like, the theme of it is such like a refreshing theme alone. There's a heavy colonialism design theme in a lot of Euro games, and this one flips it on its head with crazy asymmetric powers on every single spirit. There's different difficulty levels of spirits, from like really basic ones to the really intense, like multiple things you could mess with on your board to achieve different combos. I adore this game for its co-op. I think it's a fantastic solo experience as well too. It's just it's got everything I want in a cooperative game. It's hard, but you could also adjust the difficulty to make it pretty easy to very, very difficult. And that's just in the base game alone without any of the expansions. There's tons of variety in that base box that you could just try that base box and see if you like it or not. And I know there's the new Target version, the Horizons of Spirit Island, that has a bit more, I guess, sort of streamlined, but not really. It's still the same game. It's just more, I guess, to the point.
Yeah, I think the spirits are supposed to be a little bit more introductory for that one.
Right.
And there's less of them.
But you can bring those spirits into this one, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's a standalone expansion. If you've got the other one that though obviously you may not need those, and if you play it, I'm sure you may not want the intro. But I guess that would add a great way to still introduce people to even the bigger version.
I bought them for that reason. I may not need, but I really, really want.
Right.
I adore this one. And Chris, you haven't played it yet, and I want to show it to you.
Yeah, and I had a copy of it, but then I knew you had it, so I ultimately got rid of my copy, knowing we were going to play it. So it's been on my want to play list for a long time. I do adore the theme of it. I think it's great that they kind of flip that script, like you said, and the asymmetric powers, to me, with all that variety that they add, I just think that's phenomenal. And I love asymmetric powers, and I love the way that differentiates a game. So for me, that's huge. And it has that, as you noted, that difficulty scaling for the characters, which is, as you learned recently, one of the reasons why I like Imperial Settlers Empires of the North, because the decks in that game have some different scaling. So I like when a game makes a role harder to play, where in theory you can give a more experienced player a more challenging job in terms of playing the game. Now, in this case, obviously this is co-op, so it's different, but I still think it has that same concept of being more challenging for one player than the other, who maybe wouldn't want the easiest introductory spirit. So I like that.
I also think the spirits, the nice thing about this is you can, when you pick a spirit, you can really, like, once you know the game a little bit, you can kind of pick the spirit that best plays to your play style. It feels like there's enough spirits in here that you kind of like, if you don't like to play a game or a co-op game a certain way, they can play pretty differently. And so you can kind of pick the one that just feels best to play for you. I mean, my favorite thing about this game, my two favorite things are, like you said, the theme. It's like, the other side of Catan, sort of, basically turning it on its head. And then the fact I played it exclusively solo. I just recently got rid of my copy because the only reason was just because I had so many games that I played solo already that this one just wasn't getting played anymore. But I mean, the solo experience I wasn't good enough at it, but I think it's like best when solo. I've heard by playing 2 spirits.
Yeah,
That is super crunchy to me with these spirits. I mean, it takes a lot to manage. So
it was. I mean, that is how I play, but I have the luxury of having a separate room for board games, so I kind of just leave Spirit Island on the table and just like pick at it throughout the day because
that's the best way, I think.
Because you absolutely do want to play 2 spirits for sure. And then favorite spirits. My favorite spirit is probably I think it's called Ocean's Hungry Wrath. It's basically you are the spirit of the ocean, and you are bringing in different invaders to the ocean tiles to devour them and drown them. But it's really fun to just kind of like funnel them in and then just have them conga line to their death. But they're bad, so it's okay for me to say that. Okay, they're.
You don't need to make an excuse. It's all we understand. They're
I can't wait to show this one to you. Yeah. All right. So my number 18. I'm gonna just double check. Yeah. So my number 18 is actually brand new to this list, and I recently talked about my favorite board game designers. Uwe Rosenberg became number 1 for me, and this one is one of his most recent releases. It's called Hallertau. So Hallertau is another Uwe Rosenberg farming game. Yeah. But and it's also a worker placement game. Yeah. But what I really like about this one in particular, with compared to some other Uwe Rosenberg worker placement style games, is there's a heavy emphasis in this game on card play and trying to achieve different card combos. Throughout this game, you're going to have a starting hand of cards, and you're going to try to achieve different goals on those cards, either having a certain number of resources or spending a number of resources to increase your income engine. And also, there's cards for victory points. So at the end of the game, you'll get X number of victory points if you achieve different goals. There's cards for just doing different. There's just cards for doing nearly everything in this game. There's also all those worker placement spots on the top area of the picture where there's just blue cubes. So there's no player cube color for your workers. What happens is you have X number of workers per round, and when you spend a worker, you're going to take the lowest row and spend that number of workers. So you may be able to do the bottom left action over there. It says weekly market for just 1 cube, but the one to the right of it, the land sale, if you really want to do it, it's going to cost you 3 worker cubes to achieve. But you're also collecting a ton of different resources. So on that left-hand side of your personal player board, there's like a little track where you're tracking how many resources you have, and you kind of bring them down. And then the fields themselves to the right, if they have any resources on top, they're gonna give you that many resources that are in that row, and then they'll like degrade in quality. But if there's nothing on them, they'll just increase in quality. And then there's sheep, because it's Uwe Rosenberg, so there's sheep. And then there's a moving house.
That's right. The community center.
Yeah, and that's so cool because that moving house that's on that top over there. So if you see there's little rocks in like a grid, and then a bunch of different, like 5 different areas, like little cardboard areas. What you're going to be doing is when you achieve that particular goal, you're going to move that piece to the right. As long as there's no rock in front of it. If there is, then you need to like use tools to move those rocks. And when all 5 of them are moved over, the community center will just continue moving as far right as it can. So it's like constantly just like hanging off on a cliff, just like sliding down. But it's such a like a crunchy feel, but it's also very combo heavy, and it takes about an hour to play, which is pretty nice for this kind of weight game. If you never tried Hallertau, I strongly suggest it. I know I believe you played it, Chad.
Yeah. So we reviewed it a while back, and
Yeah.
it is a really smooth game. Some people don't like the luck of the cards, and you will
Yes.
have that. But I feel like if you make sure whatever engine you build lets you draw more cards, because you can do that. You can like fulfill different objectives on the cards that get you income for more cards or more of the goods on the screen, the milk, the meat, those kinds of things. If you build an engine for cards, you're more likely to do that. So you have to keep that in mind. But one of my absolute favorite things about this game is that the player scaling is the most that's the smartest thing I've ever seen for player scaling in any game. So you see those cubes, there are 4 quadrants that it gets divided in, sort of a top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and those get X'd off by cubes, or they kind of get filled in by cubes based on how many players you have. So it just makes certain sections filled up. And then in the solo game, you're flipping over these cards that will just cover a quadrant. And as you go, more quadrants get filled in, and your cubes have to stay for a certain period of time. So that makes it crunchier because you're actually planning, okay, if I do this now, I'm not going to be able to probably afford to do it next round. So it's got some really nice planning aspects in the solo game again. So really smooth game. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I forgot all about that too. You're absolutely right. Where it does have that luck element to it for the cards. Like sometimes you'll draw a card and it's exactly what you need, or you can't achieve it at all. Don't even try. So it has that, I guess, ticket to ride destination ticket thing. If you're like just hoping like maybe I'll get bonus points. Oh, sure enough, here it is. It has that feel a little bit to it, but I don't care because it's satisfying.
Yeah, and like you said, it's quick enough that if that happens, it doesn't feel like a big like you wasted 3 hours or whatever.
Right.
It's still satisfying to have those nice combos.
Yeah.
I'm definitely interested in trying this one, especially after our recent play of Ottawa.
Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed, especially after I think I've noted I did not enjoy New York Zoo from obviously the same designer. So I think they're either something I really like or I really dislike with them, quite frankly. So this one looks more towards the like department. But I definitely appreciate, the what he does with his games. And I was laughing when you were talking about the farming, because that is obviously the first thing we think about when we hear that name.
Yeah.
So here we are. But this one, give it a try. I don't envision this jumping into my top 20 or anything, but I want to try.
It will.
It will. I don't know. I really like that.
I think you're gonna love this game. I think you're gonna be very surprised.
Didn't work its way into my top 20. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. Brian, by the way, he did mention that he found Hallertau used last year, has gotten to the table. So Brian, just so you know, Chad, what's going on too is on the channel. I've committed myself to playing every top 20 game on these lists that I haven't played yet.
Okay, wow.
I think Brian's taking up that challenge too.
All right.
And Chris is reluctantly now taking that challenge.
I agreed I was going to take on playing your games.
Yes, yeah.
Originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The goal is to do it before the end of April next year.
Yeah.
So we have enough time. We have one more top 20 video this week.
Everyone else seems to be doing it, so I guess I'm doing it as well.
Danielle's
list is going to be the one that intrigues me the most, because there's a lot of solo gaming on that one that I will get a chance to dig into, I think.
That's true. All right. So my number 17 was on my list last year, and the thing is, I will be totally honest, I still haven't played it in person in real life because the app is so good, Board Game Arena is so good, and I know it's a very tedious game to set up because I took pictures of this game to just have in this photo, and doing that alone was kind of long. But anyways, here it is. Number 17 is Through the Ages, a new story of civilization. So this is by Vlada Kovatel. And this game is it's a tableau building civilization game. That's exactly what it is. Where it's very much like in the Sid Meier Civilization mold, where you are going to be doing, you're just going to be kind of increasing different aspects of your civilization, taking a leader, like, you know, in that picture, Charlie Chaplin's there, and just getting certain bonuses based on that particular leader. You'll be upgrading the number of actions you can do. You'll be upgrading all the engines you'll be building. This game is so good. I really adore this, but I know there's an asterisk, a huge one, because I haven't even played it but let me tell you, gameplay wise, I love this one. Like, it's got all the right things going for it, in my opinion, where it's got engine building, it has heavy player interaction when it comes to the battles and the wars and the event card decks, because what's interesting about the event card decks is each player has the opportunity to add a card to the event deck, and when they do that, they're kind of knowing what is going to come out. So it's not totally random, but there's some, you know, but you don't know when it's going to come out. You just know, well, you might know one based on, you know, process of elimination. But I really love this one, and I've played it tons of times, and I still haven't done it in person, but I own it with an expansion, with an insert, and it still took a little bit to set up. All sleeved.
Look, I got to bring this up here. You're not alone, and I've seen this online, and I've heard I've heard what you are all saying about this game, which is the digital version is fantastic, and so I now feel the need to try.
This is it. This will be the year where you and I play this one in real life.
Like the actual physical, you could set it up before I come over though, because I.
Oh yeah, you act like the setup is a problem.
No.
Well, look at all these. This is what you need to look at. Like all these cubes, it is fiddly beyond belief.
Oh, I can tell. I'm in for it. I'm in for
it. It can tell a really great story. This does not get played in the Punchboard Paradise group because Nations, which is also a civilization game, which was a direct response to this game. Both games, by the way, are civilization games without maps, which for some people are like, you know, not, you shouldn't do that. But like, honestly, I think what you want is you want to tell the story of your civilization. And this tells the story like better than any other. You just have to want to put up with the fiddliness, you know, and it is more aggressive. Like Nations is a Rado civilization game, for example, or, you know, Rado runs through.
Mm-hmm.
It's his kind of civ game because it's nicer. The war and fighting in this is really you can really, if somebody doesn't go military with you, you can really take them down several pegs. And like when I've played in the past, you don't want to play too many because of how fiddly it is. But then if you play it like 3, you're looking around the group constantly and going, okay, who's the wildebeest? Am I the wildebeest? Am I going to get taken down and everybody's going to feed off me? You know, like, because that's what happens in this game.
There is a rule set. Part of the rules is there's rules for forfeiting where you could just step out and say, you know what? My civilization, I am the wildebeest. I am, you know, everyone just punching me for points. I can't come out of this. I got to step out. There are rules for that. I'll be easy on you, Chris, because I want you to actually enjoy it. You can actually play without the war cards, too. Because the war cards are the ones that really are very aggressive. There's aggression cards, like are just one-off, like, I take this from you. But then there's also, like, war cards that can really, like, knock a player out of the game completely.
You know, look, this is the one of those games that I see on top lists all the time, but it just needs to get played, and I get it. But I kind of want my first true experience with this to be the not digital version, so I have the opposite experience of everyone else who seems to tell me it's the digital version, and it's great. And maybe I'll really appreciate the digital version after playing the board version. So
yeah. All right. Well, that was number 17 through the ages. My number 16 is a game also by Vlaada Chvátil, but this time it's co-designed by Andrew Parks, but I think it's a reiteration of Mage Knight, and it's called Star Trek Frontiers. So, Star Trek Frontiers is Mage Knight, the board game, but with a Star Trek reskin. So, because of that, I like it a lot better. I still love Mage Knight. Mage Knight is fantastic, a fantastic solo experience. But if I could be Picard, I'd like to be Picard. So in this game, you are exploring the galaxy, recruiting different characters onto your ship. Like over there in the bottom left, there's Federation officer as a character. But there's like data and stuff, and there's expansions that have like the Wrath of Khan, that have Khan as the thing, and you're just kind of exploring. The main game, you're really focused on finding board cubes and destroying them. But there's other different encounters you could run into. What's different about this game than Mage Knight is that this game has different ways to handle the combat, because in Mage Knight, you're primarily just running in for most of the part and just beating the snot out of whatever you uncover. Whereas in Star Trek Frontiers, you can still beat the snot, but it feels kind of weird if you're doing it like as Picard, like just blowing up a planet. Like, yeah. But you could do an alternate action where you could send an away team and do diplomacy, which is a whole other currency to kind of trigger this sort of stuff. And you'll gain different benefits by doing diplomacy over conquering a specific planet. It's fantastic. If you love solo gaming, definitely try Mage Knight. And if you like solo gaming and Star Trek, like, this is a no-brainer for me. Like this is such a unique experience, and that the best Star Trek game I've played in board game form, which I haven't done Ascendancy. So, in case you guys have done Ascendancy.
Have you only played it solo then?
Yeah. No, I've played it 2-player. I've done it 2-player a couple times, but I primarily do it solo. And the last couple plays, I went up against Khan, and that changes the game completely. Because Khan feels like another player that's actually actively trying to hurt you in the game, which is really cool. Because that's what you want from Khan.
That's what Khan should be doing. This one looks interesting to me, in particular because I've seen a few Star Trek games out there. This is the most interesting one of them. I'm not really a Star Trek person. I'm more of a Star Wars person.
That's all right.
So I don't know the lore nearly as well. I'd rather, if you're talking 2 players, I'd probably be more likely to play Rebellion.
Yeah.
Even though I don't own it anymore, I would still be more likely to play it. But yeah, I'd like to try this one. I will be trying it, obviously, but it sounds interesting, and it sounds like a good use of an IP, which is not always the case, and that's the piece that excites me here. IP put to good use, and not just kind of thrown on for the sake of,
Yeah, it makes sense, the IP in this regard. Chad, have you done Mage Knight at all?
I haven't. I came really close,
Yeah.
but then I was going to be in with like a couple other people already playing, and the guy who was going to teach it was like, "Oh, this is just too many," and I was like, "Okay, that's fine with me. That I'm out," because I've just heard that it does take a really long time.
Yeah.
So and I'd be interested because I do like the stuff about it. I think what I need to do is just tell myself like, okay, let's play for this long and see what it's like, and then just kind of call it whenever we decide to call it. But
I think Richie owns it, right? Is that correct? I feel like I've heard him on the podcast talk about
Mage Knight.
It. Yeah.
He's had it. I don't think he's ever played it, and I don't know if he still has it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like Richie, was kind of like, it seems like a really great idea, but I don't know. And so I don't know if he eventually got rid of it. Now, I will say, Clef is not a solo gamer, but Clef would want to know: can you be Colonel? Is it Colonel? Can you be Cisco?
Yes, you can be Cisco.
Okay. That's what he would want to know. Okay.
Yeah, you can be Cisco. So, no, there you go. Yeah. He's in.
All right.
You could do 2-player, and it's not like, it seems extremely intimidating, but at its core, it's a deck builder. Mm-hmm. At its core, everything is done through a deck builder. The tedious part about it is you have a hand of cards, and your time is mostly going to be spent. How can I best use this combo of cards? Because you want to use as many cards as you can in a turn. And finding that right combo is crucial for knowing what to do, which is why it excels at solo, because you could take your time and not worry about another player being there.
Yeah, I think this is one of those like you do with Spirit Island. Just it's great to have it set up and come back to it.
Yeah, for sure. And that I've done that with this one. So yeah, that's Star Trek Frontiers. And last year it was number 15, so it dropped by 1. Womp womp. But my number 15 this year is not really new to me, but it's new to this list. And that's Bärenpark. This one I love. This is from Phil Walker Harding. And I mentioned this a lot of times in the past that I am looking for my holy grail game of what is the best roller coaster tycoon board game in a tabletop setting. This is not it. I just want to preface that. But this game is a fantastic tile laying game that is really approachable with family, but has enough in there to make it interesting in the base game alone to players that like polyomino and trying to achieve different patterns. Oh yeah, Ruel's there and talking about praise be Phil Walker Harding. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with Bärenpark, I just love how friendly and mean it is at the same time. Because that's what I love about this game too. There's a fair amount of times where you're taking specific tiles to kind of make sure that no one else is taking that tile so they don't achieve specific achievements, which is very mean. Very, very mean. But I like to play it that way. It's also has the expansion that I still haven't played yet that adds like monorails and an exit tile and grizzly bears into it. I still want to play it, but everything about this game is just so pleasant. It's so nice to just take these pieces and achieve different goals. And then there's the whole thing where as soon as you fill out a single 4x4 grid, the last remaining spot is going to cover with a bear statue, and they go in point order from the highest, which is 16 points, I think, down all the way to 2 points. And as soon as that's achieved, you take the highest available one and you just pop them down. Yeah, I love this one. I believe you both have played this one.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've played it, but so I'd probably need a refresher, but I'd be happy to dive into that expansion, which Real's talking about, by the way.
I was wondering if there he goes. Highly recommend. I was going to ask him about that too because I wanted to hear that.
Yeah, I still haven't done it. It's
maybe
this is the year. This is the year.
This is on BGA, right?
Yeah, but not the expansion.
So, but maybe a nice refresher on BGA, and then we get the expansion table because I haven't played this in ages. Like, it's been a while. I even
bought a nice insert for it because the insert it comes with is garbage.
Awful.
Remember that?
Yeah, great.
It's literally just 2 pieces of cardboard. Good luck.
Put it in an X. Yeah. Here's a notch. Yep, that's pretty funny. Yeah, this is one that my wife and I play a lot because it's just she actually is a big fan of all, understandably, because I think Phil Walker Harding makes really great, streamlined, get it to the table designs. So he's very popular at our house for good reason. And I know, obviously, like I said, Ruel loves him, and there's good reason to. So we play it a lot. But I do like that there is like I've got to grab this objective before you do. Like, you're not just tile building, but it gives you some And then there's that sort of like, how quickly do I race to kind of fill up my board? To kind of kick end game and gear, and how quickly do I try to work and take these smaller pieces to kind of try to get some of those objectives.
And the expansion, I believe, adds extra bathroom tiles, like the 1x1s, because they can fly quick.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
But cool. This one is so cool.
But let's get this one to the table sooner rather than later, because this one has been a while.
All right, I'm ready.
I'd love to play this one again.
Number 15, new to the list, not new to me though. Bärenpark.
Good choice.
Number 14 was on the list last year at 17, and I bumped it up. I switched it actually with Through the Ages, and that is Orléans. Designed by Rainer Stockhausen and art by Clemens Franz. I don't does Renegade have this now? I know, or Capstone had it, right?
I think it's Capstone.
Capstone,
Down, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this game is a bag builder, where you are basically taking these pogs, or if you have the upgraded pieces, acrylic little tokens, and you're putting them in a bag. You're drawing the little tokens out, and you're placing them on your personal player board to achieve different combos, different recipes. So in that bottom over there, the castle will give me a red knight if I place a white farmer, a blue, I don't know, sailor or whatever, and a yellow monk, which is just a wild. So I think it's replacing something else. And you're trying to achieve different combos, build an engine, and score the most points. You're also traveling around the board, around different parts of France, which is on the top left picture of there. This is actually set up for the solo variant. There's tons of different solo variants the game comes with. However, my preferred way to play this game, there's an expansion called Orléans Invasion, which turns the game into a co-op. And it is a fantastic co-op experience. I think I prefer the co-op game over the base game, because in that game you have a central board where you're trying to fulfill different things before your I believe your castle is attacked, and everyone has different player powers, so they have like their own personal different actions that they can do. It's such a cool cooperative experience of trying to back build and fulfill these goals, because you can either fulfill and lose these pieces forever in the central board, or you can hold on to them into your engine, and build different get different bonuses. And that's how the base game is too, where you're kind of setting off your tokens and you'll forget about them because they're going to score you points. And it's all about collecting those little people flat tokens combined with how far you are on that income track, because then you get like tons of score multipliers. It's great, and like I said, the expansion just takes to the next level. And there's also like tons of different buildings options in there, because there's different actions you can add to your personal board that gives you different things. And I went crazy when I first bought this game. I was like, I need all of them. So I bought like all these promo tokens, and I just never use like most of them.
This game still screams replayability to me. In the few times that I've got to play this, used to own it. You had owned everything, and it's no secret to anyone who watches. But if this is new to you, if we both own something, usually, ultimately, that's not the case unless it's a game we both really.
Yeah, we live 7 minutes away from each other.
Yeah,
so
you own you having the deluxe version of this.
Yeah,
my copy left. Mind you, it is Capstone. I checked.
Cool.
It's like $60 MSRP right now, I believe. But this one was a blast. I really enjoy this one. There's something satisfying with this one, in particular with your deluxeified version. I would say I think it adds to that, but this one's enjoyable. I think thematically it's great, and I will say, just not thematically, I should say that just mechanically is what I meant to say. But I will say that I do want to try that co-op version, because we have not done that yet.
Yeah,
I've heard amazing things about the co-op version. The thing I didn't feel I needed, I remember when I owned it, was the 5 to 6 player expansion. I didn't feel like I needed 5 players in this game personally. Yeah. Actually, I think most games I don't want 5 players. There's exceptions to that rule.
Yes,
which is one game in particular.
We'll get there. Don't worry, it's on my list.
I assume it's on the list. But yeah, so yeah, great choice. I love this one, and I'm not surprised that this moved up your list.
Yeah.
This used to be Richie's number one at one time, quite a few years back, when we first started to get together, I think. And he had all the blinged bits and stuff. I would say that our favorite way to play it is Trade and Intrigue.
I still haven't done that way.
The second expansion. Mm-hmm. The reason that it's so great is that middle board that you talked about, dispersing your guys out to permanently for points, is really important to get out there and take some of those spots, even more important than the base game. And so you're really like, okay, how much do I hamstring my engine, but like get lots of points right now by getting rid of this person when I still don't have a lot to build up yet because I'm worried that somebody else might take that from me.
I should try that. I feel like that would
so good.
you would want a lot of players for that one though, probably, right?
You would want like 3. I think 3 is a sweet spot for this game.
Okay.
Yep. And so like you would want that many to kind of interact, and then it just doesn't go too long because it can go long if you have like a full even 4-player game and nobody's played it before. It can go really long. But it's now there's like intrigue is just like doing bad things to each other, and it feels like it doesn't need that part of it. So it's like 2 different things in that expansion. And intrigue feels like, I can't remember what they are. I just remember being like, you know what? Like I like to be stabby as much as the next guy, but like in this game, it just doesn't fit and it feels bad. So that part I would agree with, but I do like the solo in the invasion too. So like if you don't have anybody to play it with and you're trying to remind yourself kind of how it plays or get ready for the co-op, it's great in that too.
Yeah, I've done the invasion one solo. That is fantastic solo. You're right.
Yep.
All right, that was Orléans. All right, my number 13 is new to the list, not new to me, but I've been playing it a lot, and it's because of the app. But I've played this one in person. Okay, I played it multiple times in person.
No one's judging. Don't worry.
And that is Shards of Infinity. So this is designed by Gary Arant and Justin Gary. From Stone Blade Entertainment. This game is a dueling deck builder game, similar in vein to Ascension, Star Realms, Hero Realms. You're fighting each other, trying to deplete your, trying to score, do enough damage to your opponents to bring them down to 0 health, which I guess is like what, Magic, right? Magic, right? But what's interesting about this game is, well, with this game and other games, there's 2 different currencies. You're attacking or you're using the other currency to purchase more cards for your deck. But what I like about this one is the starting cards in your deck are not all crap, which is a normal thing in deck builders, right? You just get trash in the beginning. With this game in particular, you have a level tracker, and when you reach a certain level, certain cards become stronger. So like the card that was giving you 2 money is now giving you 3, then giving you 4. The card that was doing 2 attack is now doing 3. And then eventually it'll do infinite attack when you go to the highest level, level 30, and you'll just wipe out your opponent completely when you play a single card. And it's so satisfying to get to that point, but it's not easy because you both start at 50 health, and it's the combo, the card play to combo time frame is huge because you start off very basic, and maybe in turn 3 your combos are getting stronger, and 4 it just keeps getting even more stronger, and it goes like exponentially stronger to the point where you can knock your opponent down to near death and be at full health, and if they're still there, they're gonna do some smackdown on you potentially, because they might even bring you down to over 50 health. They might do 56 health or damage or whatever, and you'll be wiped out. But then there's cards that you can play to shield, and then again, it's really satisfying for that infinity gem, the Shard of Infinity, I guess. Right, it's the name of the game. To come out and deal some damage. But yeah, this game I adore, and I'm dying to show you, Barrows, because
I know I'm gonna like this one. I know this fact. I've seen this on a shelf before. The only reason I actually have never bought this is the sole fact that you've talked about it so much, so I know I'm gonna eventually get to play it.
Yeah.
Because I've literally looked at it and considered buying it.
No more. I have it all.
Yeah. Well, I know, but it just lines up so much what I enjoyed, and the thing that speaks volumes to me about what you said is the fact that you don't start with crap cards, because that is at the core of, and I know everyone loves Dominion and other
you have some crap cards, but most of them are
the fact that there's some quality at the start of it. That speaks volumes to me. That makes me interested. And again, I know you've got a few of the expansions in there, right? So there, I know there's a lot of variety with this, and it's continued to get some love and support. And yeah, quite frankly, I heard nothing but good things about this.
I haven't played it, but I don't know if it still is, but once upon a time it was Richie's favorite pure deck builder.
Yeah.
By far. Because he just liked the smooth playing, the quickness, the like you said, the combos, and then the attack nature, where you're really concerned about what the other player is doing, not just building your deck. So I would totally play it. It's just hard sometimes in our group to play a 2-player game if it's not with, if it's not something that my wife would like. So.
Yeah. No, I get that for sure. And it's one of those things, like, I wasn't expecting to even care for this game when it came out. Like, someone brought it over and was like, all right, I'll play it. But in my head, I'm like, okay, here we go. Another 2-player derivative deck building battler, right? And it just, as soon as, like, I saw, like, ooh.
Yeah.
The turns are just so good. So we're all saying that the Infinity attack is the best. Yeah, it is satisfying to really pull off. And yeah, that mechanical leveling up is it's so cool, Yeah. And Board Game Dad joined the chat. And Rachel. Hey, guys. We are number 13. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and, it is funny because I do know, I remember when I brought, and I don't expect this to be on your list by any means, so I'm not predicting that. But I know when I brought Radlands over, you weren't sure even when I brought that over. All right,
yeah,
like because there's so many times experience you do have these dull 2-player like kind of battling games, and a lot of people make them. So yeah,
there's tons of them, and even like, I just want them to be really special. You know what I mean? Like I want them to have like that hook. Here it is. Shards has that. Radlands for sure has that too.
Yep.
But I want better than fine when it comes to that kind of game. So, sorry to be snooty. Sorry.
No, I'm so offended.
No,
but as soon as I played this game too, because before I had this game, I had everything Hero Realms, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
All right, this game is kicked to the curb. Sold it at PAX Unplugged. Never thought of it again.
Well, for the record, I do like Radlands quite a bit too. I think it's a fun game.
Yeah. All right. So my number 12 dropped a couple places. It was number 9, and I might get some flack on this because this was number 1 on the Punchboard Paradise list across the board, not just with the Punch Borders, but the Punch Bunch.
Yes. Yeah.
So sorry to be that stick in the mud, but my number 12 is Age of Steam, which was number 9 before. Sorry, I know.
Hey,
the head shakes.
Anytime that this makes a top 20 is a good day for me. So
yeah, I love this game, but let me tell you why it's still at this point. You see that picture of me and my friend over there? That was the first time I played it ever. It was the Rust Belt map. I loved it. I had an absolute blast with this game. I wanted to play it again. And I played it again since then. But only solo. I've only played this game multiplayer once. Because trying to convince people to play this game, unless they're really like into trains, which I'm still, and having enough player count that they're willing to go through this, oh man. Because, there's a whole convention dedicated to this single game.
It's so great. And know what's so great about that convention? Everybody knows the game that they're sitting down to play all day, every day.
Yeah.
There's like, if anything, there's like maybe a 5-minute teach on just the basic rules of whatever map that is.
Yeah, all right, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Man. It's such a strong system. Like so in this game, Age of Steam, there's different phases. You're going to be bidding for turn order and kind of bidding for what bonus action you'll be doing, and then you carry out different actions. You also start out with no money and loans. It's Martin Wells, but also John Borer. I don't want to go to the details of the design because that's a whole heated discussion you can look for on the Board Game Geek forums. But the game has a whole mechanic where you could decide how much money you want to take out, but every $5 you're taking out, you're gonna have to pay a for every $5 you have to pay $1 at the end of the round back to the game. And if you don't have enough money, you bankrupt and you're out of the game. That's right. There's player elimination in this game, but it's not. I've never. Well, no, actually, my first game I did see player elimination because my one friend wanted to really like crank everything.
Yeah.
But it's a game that you find yourself balancing, trying to make a buck and hope for the best, but also you very well can get stabbed and have your train stolen, or have that good you've been working on for so long to deliver only snatched away by another player in a worse game situation, and then you gotta cough up some money. But man, it is hella good. Hella good.
So good.
This game is in a it's part of Age of Steam, and Railways of the World all have like the central mechanic. They all kind of do a little bit of different things, but I've never done Steam, but I prefer this one over Railways of the World. I still like Railways of the World, but if I gotta do a top 20, it's got to be Age of Steam. If we're gonna do any, it's got to be Age of Steam.
I feel like sometimes Railways of the World can be quite a bit different, but sometimes just if you're teaching like pick up and deliver or something like that, like it might be nice to do to teach somebody that for the first time and then go, okay, now we're going to go into this one with auctions and special actions and stuff. And but it's just like, okay, so there was an expansion that just shipped for Kickstarter with all these maps, right?
Yep.
There's so many good maps in that. One of them is Italy. Okay.
Yeah.
In Italy, when you deliver a black cube on someone else's rail line, now normally in the game, you have to pay them or they get paid when you deliver along one of their links to whatever the destination is. So you might get paid, but they get paid a little bit too. In Italy, you bump their income down when you deliver on their lines. So just so brutal. Like with some of my friends, we're just like looking for where the black cubes are that you can kind of deliver along each other's lines.
It's so mean in the best ways, okay?
Yes.
That evil laugh was because I like the meanness in the best ways. And that picture, by the way, so next to the Sicily map was an active game of Age of Steam being played this past year at PAX Unplugged. So I was walking. I was at our hotel in the lobby. There was these people playing this. I'm like, oh, Age of Steam. I love this game. I still haven't played. Going my whole yada yada about it. And then I was like, oh, one of my favorite podcasts. They love this game. And they're like, oh, really? Who is it? I'm like, oh, Punchboard Paradise. Like, oh yeah, I know them. And I'm like, yeah, there's a whole convention about Age of Steam that I really want to go to. Like, yeah, I know, because we run it. And I'm like, oh, well, great.
Yep.
So yeah, 1 year I do want to make it out. It's in Kansas City, the Kansas side. And yeah, it's just three days of Age of Steam.
It's glorious.
And there's like over 200 maps.
Yeah. And we actually, for our convention, Clef and Richie and a few other guys have designed our own map for the convention.
Oh, man.
Of the stock market, the New York stock market map.
Yeah. I'm not going, right?
I know.
I want to go.
What? I'll save you a copy, though. There you go.
Okay. If I could go, I would go.
I hear you. We'll miss you.
It's a very rough May.
I get it.
It's the first weekend of May, right? In Omaha?
Yeah, I believe that's it off the top of my head.
I'm going to add info at the end, so don't worry.
Okay, cool.
We'll add it all.
I will say this. I will play this and any other of the, games, of course. I won't go to a conference of all of them because my brain, I don't think, is ready for that. I
don't know, man. You might play it and might fall in love. We'll play Rust Belt.
We'll see. But I think ultimately, I will go ahead on the promise on this. I've been educated well enough to know not to look at the boards and judge anything by the look of a board. If I did, I wouldn't have Castles of Burgundy.
Well, this is Ian O'Toole on the left, the two leftmost ones.
The ones on the left?
Yeah.
Okay.
They look nice, right?
They're nicer.
Okay. The one on the far right is that's from Albin Viard. He does Clinic, but he also does every year different maps of Age of Steam. So during Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say we're going to probably get in the weeds with this, but one of my favorite maps of Alvin Biard's is called the Human Body, and so it has a circulatory system in it, heart, lungs, and everything, and the blood flows through and takes turns being blue and red, oxygenated and unoxygenated. So on certain turns you can only deliver blue cubes, and on other turns you can only deliver red cubes.
Oh, that's so wild.
So great.
All right.
I just before we move on, I will say I really do think they do such a creative job with those in terms of the different world and mechanics and stuff. So it does impress me. So I am genuinely looking forward to trying it. Yeah. So there you go.
And I must apologize because if I haven't lost anyone in the chat watching this right now for train games, it's going to get trainier, okay? I warned you, Chris, when you invited me to be part of this channel, I would bring the trains to Tabletop Express.
The channel was the Tabletop Express. It was a logical decision, so I was clearly listening.
So I'm going to keep this brief. Because I love this one, and I don't want to alienate too much more. But my number 11 is 18 Chesapeake, which was last year my number 6. Okay, so this is even trainier. This is a stock market manipulation train game. It's part of the 18XX series. An 18XX game was originated by Francis Tresham back in 1974. He made a game called 1829. Then later on in 86, he made 1830, and that kind of exploded a whole genre of board games. 18 Chesapeake is a very beginner-friendly one. And it's also, I do apologize, I think some of these pictures are from 1846, but it's okay. Don't worry. I think they're all from 1846 except for one of them. Don't worry, though. You can't even tell. But it's a great game. Try it out. 18 Chesapeake is a great intro to 18XX games. You can play them online. And I played it for the very first time in person last year. It was a blast. And the reason why it's still high on this list, because I played a lot of 18XX games after the fact, is because there's an expansion that makes it even crunchier and meaner called 18 Chesapeake Off the Rails, but meaner in the best possible way. Okay, so yeah, 18 Chesapeake, we'll play it. It'll be long, and there's some board gamers that love like Twilight Imperium, want to spend hours on that in a day. I'm very much I'm not going to do that, but I will spend hours playing 18XX games. And Chad, this is also why I brought you on to defend me.
Yeah, 100%. This was our first and probably only 18XX review for our channel. So
I know.
It was really great, but I doubt we'll ever get another. We'll see. Richie's supposed to go to a con with me this summer. That's an 18XX con, so in Des Moines. So
yeah. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We'll make it fun, you know.
Maybe Richie. They want to go to the roller coaster and eat zombie burger, but we'll see.
Yeah, right. So we'll play it. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Well, it's not as scary as it is, and it is very true. There's a certain point in the game that the rest of it can kind of be mathed out. Yeah, that's totally 1,000% accurate, but it's still pretty fun.
So play that one and then Age of Steam, I'm guessing.
No, Age of Steam is much more approachable than an 18XX game.
Way,
yeah.
Way more.
All right, so we're at the halfway mark, which is great. I'm going to flip this around. Boom. So now we're going in reverse. Sorry for the confusion. But we're in the top 10. Yeah. My number 10 is the newest game on this list. It just came out last year. And we've played it, I believe, 4 times together, Barrows. Because we started one play of it on our channel, and then we turned off the stream and played the 3 more in this campaign.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a campaign game. It's called Undaunted Stalingrad. This is the latest in the Undaunted series, designed by Trevor Benjamin, David Thompson, art by Roland McDonald from Osprey Games. This is a deck-building World War II skirmish game. And let me tell you, sorry, 1 second, I'm just going to mute that. Okay. And let me tell you, with this game, it is the best of the series. I've always enjoyed the Undaunted series, but this one takes it to that level that I wanted it to go to. So in this game, it is a campaign style game where you're going to be upgrading, you're going to be downgrading, you're going to be changing through different scenarios, getting different weapons, different types of units to battle each other. There's going to be tanks. There's going to be a board that is constantly shifting because you just destroyed part of it, and now it's going to be permanently changed for the rest of the game. This is the best Undaunted game I've played. This is my favorite of David Thompson's output, and I love him as a designer. This is the best game I've played of his. But I just got blown away by these scenarios, and I can't wait to just keep on playing this. Can we please play this? Can we please just set up some time?
Well, let me just first say that my top 20 was last week as we're recording this, and this one was in the top 30. So it didn't make the cut, but it was really on the front line of making it into that top 20. So this was such a great experience, and I came from loving War Chest, which had enough similarities in terms of the DNA of the game. And so for me, yeah, this one, it was really great just to kind of get into this one. And even though I wasn't doing very well, I felt like, and I think this was interesting, I was losing battles, but I didn't feel like I was losing the war.
Yeah.
Because I was doing damage to you through the games that we didn't play on camera, to the point that I said, you know what, I might have lost that particular battle, but
you've downgraded a bunch of my cards.
I downgraded
because you caused a lot of casualties
and upgraded more of mine. So yeah. I felt like it was great, because that is a great simulation of what war is, that you can lose battles and still win the war. So I don't know, for me, yeah. And I'm very excited about the next one that's coming out.
Battles over Britain. I believe
Battles over Britain with planes.
It's
and
dogfighting.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I dig it. Great choice.
I've only played this like once or twice, and for whatever reason, it didn't hit with me. I really wanted it to. I only played the very first one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd totally be up for playing it again. Do you like, what is, other than it being a campaign, is that downgrade and upgrade a big part of the new?
It's a huge part. Yeah, okay. It's a huge part.
Sounds interesting that way. I like that idea.
Yeah, and with the base Undaunted Normandy, the first couple of scenarios I didn't really care for. It wasn't until I played some of the later scenarios that had much more of an interesting, I mean, to me at least, board layout, some interesting different kinds of characters you can use, like snipers and mortars, and then there's also, it's a lot of the intro ones are just the first person to this objective points they're going to win the game. This one is already shifting gears. And what's cool about this is that depending on the outcome of each individual battle, you're going to go down a different path and play a different scenario. And there's going to be little nuances as to who starts where, what is going to happen. But there's also like a pretty solid like booklet of just different like prose, like little like short little summaries and some details, like a little short story to read, like, oh, okay, so it's like I have a book from the perspective of the Germans and you have one perspective of the Soviets. It's pretty cool.
Right, it's just enough. I think this is the big thing. Like, it's not too much to read. It's enough to add value, but like you can then get right into the next game, and saving from game to game is easy. And they just designed this really well. And I love a good legacy game. One of the biggest challenges I think with any legacy game is making sure you play through the whole thing. This one, I keep just wanting to play.
I think the fact that it's low player count too, it's just, and you're going to be playing with the same person. I think it's great. It's, and then, Ryan in the chat is saying that he's wanted to try Undaunted and he has way too many campaign games already. I have a lot of legacy campaign games. What's cool about this one is it's not really legacy. It is campaign, so you can restart that and, play it again and have a totally different outcome. You could switch sides. And I'm actually really excited to do that. It's one of the, I could see myself playing this again when we're done with the whole thing and try the different side and see what that's like.
Yeah.
So yeah, this game is great. Cool. Try it out. Boom. Okay, my number 9, Was last year number 11, but it's climbed up because I just love everything about this game still. It's the game that really brought me into the hobby. And a lot of people like to poo on it, but I say, F that. Dominion started the deck building trend. That's the OG, okay? I love Dominion. Dominion is the original deck builder. It's what brought me into the hobby. I still just love playing this game. Yeah, if it was just the base game, it would be a lot lower on my list. But all the expansions and the new expansions that just keep coming out, they don't feel like cash grabs. Like they're just adding awesome new things to this game that is just making it sing. What I love about Dominion, and I talked about this last year too, is there's a constant there's always like a strict rule set as to how many how many actions you can play, how many cards you can buy, how many what and there's but what's interesting is finding the right combo to break that as much as you can. And granted, there is a big strategy in the especially with the earlier games, to focus on money, and that kind of just whoever's focusing on money just rush to the nearest gold and rush to the nearest province. You will likely win the game. But later expansions add enough unique action cards, the duration cards that last from one turn to the other are fantastic. Dominion is a game that I will always be down to play. Always love teaching this one. It's the one game that I used to always use as like my gateway game for new gamers. When I started my job 11 years ago in the city, I would bring Dominion with me in my backpack to work, waiting for the day to be like, "Hey guys, do you want to try this out?" And then I did, and I sucked them all into the world of board gaming. Well, like 3 of them for sure. 3 of them I sucked into the world of board gaming. 1 too much. He bought way too many games. But that's Dominion. I love this game.
I wish I enjoyed this one more. I have a deep
You
respect
will.
for it.
We play until you do.
Yeah, you can try that. I have a deep respect for this one, though. I enjoy it. I think it's a good game. So I don't want to say I don't like it. It's just I'd rather play other games that are deck builders. But when it comes down to it, this game is so pivotal and important. So and maybe, you know what, I would like to try Dominion, though, with more than the base, because to me, maybe that will raise its score for me.
You've only done the base?
I've played base in like 1 expansion. Like I've played I haven't delved into the world.
All right, Chad, what do you think, Chad?
I will just say it gets infinitely better with some of those expansions.
Yes.
Because it's almost like they didn't want to give you too much.
Yeah.
If you think of it kind of as a gateway game, they didn't want to give people too much overload. And so the basics are pretty basic, because you got to think like this. It wasn't like, oh yeah, this is like all these other deck builders. No, this was the deck builder. Yeah. And so like people had no frame of reference. So he made it really easy, and he's like, A, B, C. This is your action, your buy, and then your cleanup. And he just focused so much on that. So then when stuff started coming out with more deck builders, I think he ratcheted it up with the expansions and stuff. But I would say what I love about it is that you've just got all those cards out there, and it's kind of like looking at the cards that have come up for that particular game and going like, oh, what, I think I could try this strategy, or I didn't try this last time, and now there's this other card out, and maybe this would work well with this card. So it's one of those that I pretty much only want to play 2-player, because with good players, it's like you have a 5-minute turn where it's like, I get to play this card, and that lets me play this card, and then I have this card, and then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But it is really great. I would like to know really quick though. Okay, so I know Seaside and Prosperity are 2 of the big expansions that everybody always talks about.
Yes.
I'd like to hear a couple other expansions that you feel are really big for this one.
Well, I'm dying to play the latest one, which is Plunder. Sure. I have Allies. I haven't done Allies yet. And Prosperity for sure I love, primarily for the Goons card. There's a card called Goons that is super mean, but you combo that with some other cards, and it's unbeatable. And then the second edition of Prosperity got rid of that Goons card, so I say poo poo. That's my least favorite now. I think Alchemist gets a bad rap. There's an expansion called Alchemist that adds in different player cards that has a different currency, which is like a potion, and some of the cards are very, very, very powerful. But the thing is, if you're not playing with a lot of Alchemist cards, then it's not as exciting, and there's usually not a reason to go for it. But sometimes it is. I really like. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Cornucopia, where it adds the one with the jousting, the tournament card or whatever, that gives you like the special card. Like you get to decide what special card you get as a reward. Wow. Like this trusty steed and all that. Yeah. Oh, Dark Ages. Dark Ages was fantastic. That was supposed to be the last Dominion expansion, and that one was like so good. So good. That one added a lot of like kind of mean cards, but they had different starting cards. There were the ruin cards. Yeah, sorry, I can go on, but I love Dominion.
It's great.
Yeah, for pure deck building, Dominion is tough to beat. Yeah.
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 Like I said, deep respect for it. I'd happy to play with more of the expansions, which maybe will interest me a lot more.
It will. I will make sure to get a good set for you.
By the way, I just watched Ruel's. He did the Star Wars deck builder. So if you haven't seen that, as a Star Wars fan, you should probably check that out, because it does have some very standard things, but also the way that you can sabotage and bounty hunt the galaxy row is really cool. So if you haven't checked that out,
it's funny too, because I was saying to Ryan earlier, not to go on a tangent, but I was saying to Ryan earlier this week, like, wonder if it's gonna be any good. Like, do I really need? And then I kept reading reviews. I was like, all right, I'm gonna need to play this one.
Yeah, we definitely need to play it. There's chatter about it on our Discord a bunch too, and it's at that, like, when I first heard about that Star Wars deck building game, I was like, all right, here we go, another Fantasy Flight cash grab. Like, it felt like here they are just trying to renew the license. Like, yeah, we made a game, but it sounds like there's more to it. But I'm very picky with my deck builders, except Dominion, because I'm just partial.
I don't think it would beat Shards of Infinity for you, but I think if you're a Star Wars fan, it feels super thematic, and I think you can bet that there's going to be expansions out.
Yeah, likely. So. All right, my number 8. This is the second and last train game on this list, right? Yes, it is. It is. So I apologize, but I love this one. I still haven't gotten my copy. No one has. And that is one I played online a lot. That is Shikoku 1889. It's the one that is on. So there's a website called 18xx.games where you can play 18xx games online. This is the first one that was added in there because I believe it was Toby Malik, the main dev. It was his favorite game, a favorite 18xx game, and I could see why, because this game is very tight and plays so well. It's an 18xx that doesn't overstay its welcome, which is a big complaint with a lot of 18xx games. It's an 18xx game that works extremely well at low player counts. A 3-player game of Shikoku 1889 is my preferred player count for this one. It's also quicker to get to some of the higher cost trains, and it's costly because most of the terrain has mountains that you just have to spend extra money for building through. The stock market is really interesting with how it handles its dips, but it's not totally punishing. It's more punishing than 18 Chesapeake for sure, but it's still manageable. I love this one. These pictures, so I don't own this game, are from the latest proof from the Kickstarter campaign. So I'm hoping that, when it does come, like, to just get that to the table immediately, because it looks gorgeous for an 18xx game,
Agreed.
So
this was on my like top 20 list.
Yeah.
This year on our podcast too. So I really like this one for all the reasons you mentioned. It seems like, I would say, it seems like you like, as I do too, the more 1830s style stock market manipulation games, as opposed to what other people call operational games, which are more like run a good company, merge it with this other good company, do really good at rail building, rather than like, I'm going to buy your shares and manipulate it, trash your company. And then,
I like that aspect for sure. And like last year, 1846 was on my list, and it's off my top 20. I played that. I still like 1846, but it's gotten to a point where I prefer. And I played 1846 for the first time in person this past year, but I prefer this kind of game, where it is focused on the stock market, and there is a focus on going into other people's companies and getting to that train rush, which, the train rush term means companies just start to lose all their trains, and there's like there's only a certain number of trains you can have in your train company. So it gets really tight, and the president has to take money out of their own pocket to pay for it, which is very mean, but it's really, really great in this game. This game, I can go on, but it's a fantastic next step if you like 18 Chesapeake and want to stay within that wheelhouse, that rule set. Because what's great about 18XX games is that you learn one, you really need to just learn the differences from the others. But you get 18 Chesapeake in there for the teach, then you go to Shikoku 1889. If you want some, if you want the best, in my opinion. Which one was your highest? Was it 18? Was it 1889?
It was 1889. Yeah. The Old Prince might be up there just because of the.
I've been loving that one.
1889 is
I will say that one looked really. That one had a different look than the other one. It looked a little bit.
It's pretty, right?
More, it looked
Josh,
very pretty.
The developer Josh, Grand Trunk Games. I cannot think of Josh's last name, but Josh is really making a concerted effort to overcome the stereotype that these games need to look like sparse and ugly, so to speak. He's really working at that.
Yeah, because before it was called Shikoku 1889, it was like, was it 1889 History of Shikoku Railways?
Yep.
So this has a bit more, it's a bit more exciting. Yeah, pizzazz. So we need in the 18XX world. All right. My number 7 was my 12 last year, and it keeps climbing. I think you are going to love this game, Barros. This game is a parody on higher learning, but it's also a app-driven, but not heavily app-focused game. It's called Alchemists. It's my number 12 last year, climbing up. I adore everything about this game. So in this game, you're basically trying to get the most victory points by publishing theories on these different wizard ingredients. So there's mandrake root over there, there's like toad, there's scorpion. You're trying to figure out their chemical composition, and you're trying to publish theories about what you think they are. And if you're right towards the end of the game, you'll get bonus points based on whatever points you wagered on there. And what's really fun about this game is you don't need to be right to get ahead in this game. You need to BS your way as much as possible in this game to succeed. And I adore that part of this game. We did a video recently about favorite 2-player games, and this made my list. BGG has this listed as best of 4. I love this at 2, and here is why. At 2 players, you have 6 action cubes you can allocate throughout the board to do different actions. And at higher player counts, you just get fewer cubes, so there's less things you can do. And you really want to do as much as you can in this game because it's a fun deduction kind of thing. You want to, because in your personal player area, you have like this Sudoku-esque chart that you're crossing things off, trying to figure out what is the chemical composition of these different ingredients, and you do that by the app. and the app is only used pretty much for that. You take 2 ingredient cards, you scan it, and it tells you what kind of potion you just made. That is it. And I feel like when I say app, like assisted board games, people are like, oh, here we go. A lot of, I want to get away from that. I can assure you, it's just on that and that alone, and it makes the game sing, because it's this deduction puzzle you're trying to figure out, and you're swindling these potions together and selling them to different passerbys that are coming by, and you're testing them out on interns that are, not willing to really drink it unless that they'll be okay, or you could just drink it on your own and possibly take any side effects, including like, it's mostly negative side effects if you get them. But it's such like a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing from that CGE is so well at, like with Galaxy Trucker and Dungeon Pets. It has that same ilk, but it's not a Vlaada Cavato game. It's a Matus Kotri, who also did Deal with the Devil, which I still want to play, but that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, I adore everything this game is doing. It is such a good time. If you like deduction and you like worker placement kind of thing, but it's not really worker placement because you're not getting blocked, right? It's like action selection cube kind of deal. Whatever. You'll like this sort of thing where you're playing your own board but having enough interaction with what's going on outside with other players, and really just okay with BSing your way through the entire game and leveraging off of different people's homework, because you're going to be doing that a lot based on what people think are what chemical compositions out there. Alchemists is such a unique game that shows how important technology is, I think, to board gaming, to really take board games to this next level. And this game is a perfect example of showing app integration done in a very elegant way. I still haven't done Deal with the Devil. I want to. But yeah, Alchemists. I love this one. You're going to love this one, Chris.
You've told me this now for a while, so it's just a matter of getting it to the table. It sounds interesting. I do think there's a thought when you say app, and a lot of people have had a bad app experience when it comes to a board game, and some people said, I just don't want an app involved. But the way you've described it, it sounds like it's a good use of it. So, I'm not going to judge I will never judge any game before playing it for one, but I'm not going to,
Oh, can you roll the tape back to the 18xx discussion? Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Continue.
Hey. No.
Someone just said that it was in somebody else's top 5. Arwen.
Yeah.
This was
Cardboard Time.
The list. Yeah, for sure.
And like one of the fun things, just besides just the great deduction brain melting puzzle, is that it just, like you said, it, like some of the other CGEs, you can tell a great story with it while you're playing. Like, it's just fun to get into the theme of it and tell a good story while you're playing. But yeah, Clef used to, I think he got rid of this game because he just got tired of getting beat every time by his wife, because she loved it and she's very good at it. I'm not very good at deduction games, but I still find it fun to play. Did you ever get it has expansion? It's one of those, I have no idea why I got it, because like the base game gives me way too much to focus on anyway, but still I like a degenerate, I bought the expansion.
I bought it with I bought it because I knew I wasn't going to play it anytime soon, but I bought it in fear of, okay, if this goes out of print, I'm never going to get this thing again. I don't want to be in that situation. Sure. Right? Railroad Revolution was bad enough. I sold that off because I'm like, I'm never getting this expansion. So, with this game, I have the expansion, and it's a module expansion. So you could add as little or as much as you want, and some of them are very trivial. Like, one of them just changes the turn order board, because you have to decide what turn order you want to take, and depending on how soon you are, you gain different benefits. How late you wake up, you get better benefits. So they have that. That's one of the little small modules. But then they have like a crazy one that adds even more to the app with like a golem and stuff. So yeah.
The cool thing about this designer, he hasn't designed a lot, but he looks like he is not interested in doing stuff that's been done before.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so. And Deal with the Devil is absolutely all that. And we've been talking, Chris and I, a lot about doing a video called like the Oscar Wildes of board games. So it's just like whatever board game designer just made one game, and that's it. But then you know he came out with Deal with the Devil, so he's no longer on my list. But he would have been number one. But yeah, I'm excited to play that. But again, it's a 4-player only game that is way heavier on app integration, but still looks super enjoyable. And Arwen also taught me that at PAX Unplugged, but I still haven't played it.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. But number 6 through number 1 are going to be no surprises, I feel like. Now it's just like, yep, that's what I like. That's what I like. So I'll start with number 6, which was, I know this will be on your list because it plays great with 5, and it's the best game with 5. It's also the best area control game, in my opinion, right? But that's El Grande, which was number 8 last year. It's hard to compete with El Grande. Look at that, Grande. Holy moly. That's actually the king. But in El Grande, it is as beige as it comes. Came out in 1995. Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich. This game came out the same year as Settlers of Catan. And in this game, it is what I love about area control board games, all wrapped up into one. Heavy player interaction, lots of stabbing turns, no combat, but a lot of stabbing. There's no like risk style battles kind of thing. You're just choosing, you're bidding for turn order. You're choosing an action to do, and then you move on to the next player, and you do that for 9 rounds. You score after round 3, round 6, and round 9, and it is such like a dagger fight with everyone, and everyone is constantly engaged, and everyone is seeing what cards are coming out, because those cards you're using to bid, they're only going to be used once through the entire game. So if you use your highest early on, you're not going to have it the rest of the game, and if you use your lowest, you're not going to have it for the rest of the game. You also have different, and so the version I have, it has meeples. There's also a version that has cubes. But your pieces that you're placing on the board, you have a personal supply, and then you also have like a general supply that you're adding from the general supply to your personal supply to then take from your personal supply and place out into the board. And then not only that, there's cards that are taking those and moving them back into the general supply. Man, this game is mean in a good way. This game, because how the scoring works is there's 3 different tiers of scoring, first, second, and third. In the case of a tie, the tied players go to the next lowest value, and they just get that. And there's constant shifting of who has a majority and what regions, because there's only 9. There's only 9 regions unless you play with one of the modules that adds Portugal as a place that you can go to. Anyways, El Grande, fantastic. I love this game. I want to play it every time I talk about it, including right now. Except I never recommend playing El Grande on Board Game Arena async. It's an awful async time. A lot of games I'm okay with playing async. El Grande is awful async. It just loses that luster and just becomes meh.
My only experience with this is real time, online, 5 players. Loved it. It was a great experience. This is a game that I will say could crack my top 20 if it got more plays. That's how much I liked it. That's withheld quite a few games, quite frankly, because there's games I think are that good. This one, the biggest thing is I do think it needs that number.
And you need 5.
And that's the biggest thing that holds it back a little bit for me, probably. But it is a phenomenal experience, and this holds up better than the other game you mentioned from that year, quite frankly.
Catan. You can say it. It's not a dirty word.
No, I don't know, because I'm not going to. Because that game, it's fine. It's fine, and I appreciate it. But this one, I almost appreciate more because it really, to me, held its ground and remains a game I want to play. And so my respect for this one is quite a bit higher, quite frankly.
It's a classic for a reason. And even if Kramer had only designed just this one game, he'd still be a great designer.
Absolutely. Yeah. No question. And it's such like a, it's such a great example of heavy interaction in a Euro kind of design. Like this is such a
I love that
it's
tension
so
in
good.
this game, though.
Yeah,
The tension
it's so
of,
tense.
oh, you're doing this.
Yeah,
like there's just a great moment with you. You don't need words in this,
and it's not just you; it's the whole table that
Right.
is like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
This is a brilliant design, quite frankly. So yeah, I can see why it's as high on the list as it is for you.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's also pretty approachable. It doesn't look like it would be, but I've played this with just like I played this with family, and they had a blast playing this because it's very much like You Are in My Business, the board game.
Mhm.
So yeah, number 6 was number 8 last year. Climbed up. I don't think it's gonna go higher though, because my spoilers, my top 5 is pretty much the same from last year. So I'll just go to it. My number 5 is Agricola, which is now a crossover and one of the few crossovers on the list with both Chris and Brian. Agricola is fantastic. It is my favorite worker placement game. It's what I want in a worker placement game, which is very little actions available, very precious actions to do, and you can't do them all. You can't get everything you need, and just when you think you're okay and planned out your turn, you don't have enough food to feed your people. But it does get better. There's light at the end of that tunnel. When you get it going, when you get that engine going, because you will, and have those right occupation cards, those right minor improvements, you have more workers. Sure, there are more mouths to feed, but that's more actions for you to do and make your farm at the end look as beautiful as Hallertau is the complete opposite, which is just doesn't look like anything at the end. But Agricola, you have a beautiful farm right in front of you at the end of the game.
Even if you had to beg for it.
Even if you had to beg for it. You know?
Yeah.
I love Agricola. And last year, Chris, you and I did a video called Change My Mind, Caverna, where I was going in, enjoying Caverna, and saying, this is a good game because you had a bad experience with it. And we played it, and your experience of the game went up. But the whole time when I was playing, I'm like, man, I just want to play Agricola.
Yeah.
I just want to play Agricola. And this is also why I bring Chad into, because I feel like, Chad, you're the Agricola defendant on Punchboard Paradise as well, too.
Heck yeah. Yeah, Richie called it too much work. And
Yep.
he did not, he kept calling it Misery Farm, like it has that reputation. But you know what? This is a great game. I will tell you, it is one of the heavier games that my wife started playing with me when I got her to game with me a little bit more. And there were a lot that she was not interested in. But she likes farming games. She likes the idea of farming, even though we would never have a farm or live anywhere near that. She just likes the sheep and stuff like that, And so she will detrimentally not kill her animals for food. She pretty much always goes like vegetable farming strategy. But
oh, man.
Regardless, the reason that I think it's actually a heavier game that is approachable is you've just got those action spots, and it's cool because you don't know what they're going to be. You have an idea what they could be. But for her, those action spots weren't flipped up yet on the whole board. So she just had a few things to focus on every turn, and then something new would be revealed. And so instead of seeing all these actions at once, she's like, okay, I can do this, this, or this. All right, now I've got that. And then, a new card would come up, So that was really, even for a heavy game, a really nice way for her to approach it. And then she got used to the cards. I think we draft the cards now all the time.
Nice.
And it's really nice to have all these different decks out there now, because it feels sort of like Dominion in that same way of okay, what am I going to try to do this game? Oh, okay, I have this. Maybe I can combo it with this,
Yeah.
this game for me, the experience, like I said, it started with that Caverna, which, by the way, my score did, for anyone who has not seen that video, my score did go up on Caverna, and then within about 2 days dropped because I played Agricola.
Yeah.
And so I think Caverna is a fine game, don't get me wrong. I just, after playing Agricola, said to Ryan, I don't think Caverna needed to exist because I prefer this, and clearly the inspiration.
Well, I know
right?
why it existed. I know for sure it's not as punishing. And it solves that problem.
I get that. So it's
for
a
some
audience.
I don't think it's a problem. But.
Yeah, it's a different audience, certainly.
Yeah.
But this one, despite being more punishing, it just was a more enjoyable experience for me. I really like this one. I think, again, the occupations, I've talked about this before, so I won't dig into it. I'll just say I think those occupation cards are fun, and I would always play with the occupation cards, so I love that. And yeah, great choice. And like I said, crossover. I mean, I know it was number 19 for me, so not quite as high, but I really did really love this one.
You still haven't played it in person, that's why. This will be the year.
I played it a lot online.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I'm just saying the mechanics are the same.
But you don't have that pretty farm at the end. You can play with your sheep and stuff. Actually, back in my day, they were just cubes. Okay.
That's right.
I remember when I bought Agricola, I went to a game store. I think I told this story last year too. I went to a board game store asking for it because it was on the hotness on Board Game Geek. Oh, I gotta try this game. It's the new #1. They never heard of Agricola. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. They didn't make it. They went out of business a couple years after. So I think it's because of their Agricola shaming.
Curse.
But I looked everywhere, couldn't find it. That same year, I went to New York Comic Con, and at just some random booth, $70 Agricola. So I'm like, hell yeah, bought it, and I took it, and I opened it, and I went to a Bruce Campbell panel, and I was just in the audience looking at the Agricola bits while Bruce was talking. That was my Agricola experience. I love this game. Everyone should play it. You're not going to like it. It's okay. Because it gets better. The first time I played it, I actually didn't like it that much. I was like, okay. Really? And then I played it again. And then I played it again. And it just sings to me now. I love this game. Love, love, love. And then the Farmers of the Moor expansion is pretty great too, if you haven't tried that one out yet. It's pretty solid. All right. That's my number 5. Number 4, same as last year. Crokinole. So good. It's my son. And this is at the PAX Unplugged. This is our current Crokinole table. And this is with one of my gaming groups. We had a board game Olympics, and there was a whole category on dexterity. So I brought my A game. And we went home with the gold on that one. Because Crokinole is so good. Crokinole's so good. Like a lot of board gamers, you'd see it on Board Game Geek a lot, and then Shub and Sit Down came out with that video talking about Crokinole, how amazing it was. So I'm like, all right, I need to try this. So I bought a Mayday board, and I really liked it. And then I went to PAX Unplugged and played on a Tracy board from Canada, and was mind blown on the quality of that board, of the Mayday to that one. It was just like, I need this game. It climbed up so high. I don't think it's going higher than 4, but it climbed up so high for me. We bought a Tracy board. And then 2019 at PAX Unplugged, we were in the tournament. I made it in the top 20. I feel good about that.
Nice.
And then we had that Tracy board at the office where I worked in the city. And during lunch breaks, after work, we just play Crokinole. Hundreds and hundreds of games of Crokinole. And it was crazy because literally, the world ended in March 2020, right? So my office, the office that I worked at, we just worked full remote since then. Like there's no more office. So I miss our Crokinole days. And I have my Crokinole board up on the wall in my living room. I'm always happy to play Crokinole. It's so good. And I thought I hated dexterity games. I really did. The very first dexterity board game I played was Dungeon Fighter years ago, and I hated it. It was like, dexterity games aren't for me. Then I played Meeple Circus and Flick 'em Up. I'm like, okay, I'm enjoying this. And then eventually got it to Crokinole, and this is my jam.
What makes me laugh is before you talked about train games, I remember talking to you a lot about dexterity games. So
yeah,
that's what I actually thought about with you first. This one I was very glad you introduced me to. I very much enjoyed it. I will probably one day own a Crokinole board because of you. Not in a rush on it, but one day I would like to. It is such a delightful game. And well, like I said, it may not be in my top 20. I really enjoyed when you taught me this game and seeing just how many people love this game.
Yeah.
And that was the interesting thing for me, just how passionate people are when you talk about Crokinole. And then there's the other side of it is when I have mentioned Crokinole, people are like, what's Crokinole? And then I showed them, oh, this is what it looks like. And so even though I'm not, maybe not, the advocate that you are for this game or the passionate fan of it, I find myself explaining Crokinole to people. So yeah, I appreciate this one. I love this one a lot. And it's definitely a delight, and it's tough. I will say it's tough to get it down exactly just how much do I want to flick this, and am I going to get it in, and also I appreciate the maintenance and having like a good quality board, and there's something to that. So yeah, great pick on this one.
Yeah, it's a great game. I don't get to play it near as much, but I have a Mayday board, which obviously isn't of the highest quality, but it was affordable, which is why I pounced on it.
That's why I bought it too.
Yeah, and we still play it. We'll have a couple of boards when people get their brains melted from 18xx or Age of Steam or whatever at the con. We'll have a couple of boards out and be able to take a break and shoot there. And I was the first time I ever played the game. I don't know if it's this way. I don't think it is, but like we were playing doubles. Mm-hmm. And they were instituting this rule where like you had to, every shot you had to have both butt cheeks in the chair, and so somebody was leaning way over, they'd be like, both cheeks. No,
you have to have one.
Okay,
there's a rules. Next time you say, listen, this is the NCA rules, right? The National Crokinole Association. It's one butt cheek. The chair cannot move.
Okay.
So
there we go.
Yeah. And it's a great community too. I mean, if you want to you're right, exactly. If you want a chill game, just melted your brain over 18xx or whatever, and you just want something chill, and even then, like if you just want like how much time did we just spend? Did we just really spend an hour just playing Crokinole? Like, yeah, it's that like, it's that satisfying. It's so fun. Doubles is a fantastic way to play too. I love playing doubles at 4-player, but for sure 2-player is my preferred if I have to. And I will always be an advocate for this beautiful, beautiful Canadian wooden circle game. That's Crokinole. And so is Brian Larson. Look at that. Loves Crokinole. Always up for a game. All right. My number 3 is currently number 1 on Board Game Geek, and that is Brass Birmingham, which is another crossover. I love Brass Birmingham. So I played Birmingham first. I didn't play Lancashire first, or the original Brass. I didn't play. I just played Birmingham first. I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was one of those like, it's not clicking, and then it clicked. And then it really clicked, and then it was end of Canal era. We're now in the rail era, and then it's like I just spent this time, and I want to play it again. It's one of those brain burners that you want to play again right after playing it. I've love everything about this. All the resources going on the board where you can use other people's resources, and you may want to let other people use your resources because it gives you points, gives you income, but some of them, come on, you had to use that? Get out of here. It's my beer. Get off my beer.
Right. I drink your beer milkshake.
I drink your beer milkshake. The game,
Yeah.
This game deserves all the praise it gets. Absolutely 1000% deserves all the praise this game gets. It's fantastic at all player counts I've played it at. I know there's an unofficial solo mode, but I don't know if I really want to play it solo because you really want that player interaction. And even at 2 players, there's some pretty good interaction. I think 3 is my favorite way to go with this game. But any player count is still pretty fantastic. I blinged out my copy with iron cubes and little volcanic rock beads that look like coal.
Wow.
They're not a real volcano, but
Yeah.
I bought them on Etsy, right? Yeah. I just want to play this game right now. It's so good. Everything about Brass is so good.
You're right on the spot with the fact that because I played this with I've played this many times, but in playing this, I remember after I played one half of a round, and I said, "Oh, I think I got this now." But that wasn't enough to catch up at that point. So that learning game second half ended, and I said, "All right, I wish I didn't have to go anywhere because I kind of want to play this again." And I did really appreciate that, and the fact that there was interaction in this friendly yet unfriendly way. Like, yeah, I'm going to take this. This could be useful. Oh, but you're going to get the benefit when this flips over. And so I really enjoyed that. I think mechanically it's sound. It's neat thematically. And when you go into the second round, that certain things are going to, be able to stay on the board, but a lot of stuff's going to leave because you haven't upgraded it. And for me, yeah, this was a winner. That's again, it's obviously on my list. So I like it, but I understand why this is number one on Board Game Geek right now for a lot of reasons. I don't always agree with the top 20 or the top 30 games, but this one deserves to be there in my book.
Yep. This system, Brass Lancashire and Brass Birmingham, is like you said, that interaction. It's what I call co-optition. Like, and so like you're like, oh yeah, I'll take that and I'll use it at just the right time for me, but you're going to get a little thing and at the same time. But the other interesting thing is too, now the timing has to be right. And I just played Lancashire after a very long hiatus this past weekend, way too long, but like you can overbuild other people's factories too, so they don't get the points for it. Now the timing has to be completely correct where the markets have to be emptied and stuff like that of their coal and their iron and stuff like that. But it is so nice when you can do that and somebody's like, you're really gonna overbuild are you serious? And Lancashire has a little bit more elbows to it, which I kind of like. But this is a great variation on it too, so I'd happily play either at any time.
Yeah, I mean, you could overbuild in this one too, but only certain things, only certain buildings. I played this actually a lot online. There's a site called GameParlor.org, and the game kind of looks like original SimCity, like graphic wise. But it's Brass. It's so great to play. So I've played a bunch online. I have a group that I just every time we're done, like, all right, who's down for another? And then it's pretty much, yep, everyone's on board. Okay, great, let's do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can go on, but Brass is fantastic. Go play Brass.
Nice.
Ruel agrees. Brass is brilliant. I agree. All right, my number 2 is a Splotter. It's the only Splotter on here. Yep. It is my personal favorite. Food Chain Magnate is my number 2. And it's a picture of me and my wife.
You guys have hats. I love it.
Yeah, we bought hats. I made it a big deal. I bought hats, and and she's a great sport because she played Food Chain Magnate all while being pregnant, like 2 months away, ready to go, and just made it through a Splotter. So I'm like, yeah. So
that's good.
Yeah, I love this game. I love everything about it. Yes, it is mean. Yes, it is unforgiving. Yes, there's only really 2 cards in the original game that you need to start with, and if you don't, you lost the game. Yes, it has all of that. But let me tell you, this game has such a fun theme translated into this. Heavy interaction, tons of interaction, like non-stop. And it also has a theme you can relate to. You have a restaurant, you're making food, you're advertising food to these people. These people want this stuff, and they will only go to one restaurant that has it all, and they'll go to the cheapest option available. I really love everything about this game, because what's great about this game is that I'm terrible at it, but I know when I mess up, I know exactly how and when and why. It's not like, oh, yeah, I thought we were so close. No, there's a certain point when it happens, you know it happens, and that is it. There's no coming back, and now you're just watching it unfold. But it's not like you need to watch the rest of the game forever. It goes pretty quick. It can go very, very quick. It'd be one turn where it's just everything's gone. Yep, that was, you sold that for how much? You got, yep, that's it. It's gone. Game over. The expansion, fantastic. It's fantastic. You know, I don't think it's a must own unless you love Food Chain Magnate, but I love Food Chain Magnate, so it's a must own. And the coffee mechanic is hilarious. I love the rules behind it. The rules are so unique in this game that it just, there's a lot of nitty gritty, but the thematic integration of it just makes total sense. And yeah, it doesn't look. A lot of people are like, oh, it looks like a prototype, but you know what? It is functional. It is clear. I know exactly what's going on from a graphic design standpoint. It is fantastic for telling you exactly what's going on that board. When you understand that iconography, just, yeah, like you see, okay, pizza is dominating that picture over there along with some beer. So it looks like I got to focus on pizza. You know, it's just clear, efficient, excellent. 10 out of 10. Food Chain Magnate. Go play it. Yes, it is mean. I'm happy to teach it. Yeah, that's it. And I'll be nice when I teach it.
So I would say, like, the reason the expansion is a must have for me is just because of the catch up.
Yeah.
Because if I'm teaching a new player, the catch up makes it bearable. Because if I keep, I'm going to be nice on a new player, but if somebody keeps stealing that new player's house that they're trying to sell to over and over, their sell radius gets bigger.
Yeah.
As opposed to everyone else's, which is what the catch-up expansion does. And I think that evens the playing field so that, you know, again, talking about getting your literal milkshake drunk. That, you know, over and over in this game, it can be brutal. But
yeah,
it's one of the punch borders, like top 2 or 3 in aggregate. So
yep. Yeah, absolutely.
This is one that I have. It might surprise based on reactions to, as I joke about the train games, but this one I'm actually really excited to play because thematically I think I'm more invested in this one. It definitely draws my attention with that, even though I know it's going to be probably a beatdown. But
I'll be good on you. What I would recommend is we play with all new players and I sit out. Honestly, that's the best way to teach, and I'm perfectly fine with sitting out. Because I will speed up the game. That's the thing. Because it can be very slow with all new players. So I can kind of like, okay, here it is.
Regardless, like I said, thematically it draws my attention. When you talk about good iconography, that's a great thing for me. Yeah, and I'll jump right in. I don't have as much to say on this because I've heard you talk about it, and I know enough to know I want to play it. And after I play it, hopefully we can talk about it something because I'll be looking forward to sharing more of my game experience with everybody once I actually get to do it.
Yeah, and it can be a very polarizing game. Like,
there's a reason that this, though, like this, I think this is probably highest on Board Game Geek, and this is the one that they've done the most reprints of, I believe. This is the only one that they've really put out an expansion for. Like, this is their biggest game, and they kind of broke into the mainstream of the geek hobby with this one, I think, a little bit more. So yeah, what you're saying is it appealing to you, and the theme and stuff. There's a reason that people get hooked in with this one in particular.
Well, it's really clear to me what the theme is. Whereas, like, I always joke, I got bus on my wall and behind me, and like, bus is not what it's more than meets the eye. I think bus is an interesting game.
Yeah.
A lot of people want bus right now, but this one, quite frankly, like I said, yeah, thematically, I don't know. It's just, it makes sense too, and it sounds like the way it's been described to me mechanically, it makes sense, at least with the fact of what you're trying to do in terms of outsell.
it has that
Right.
feel of what you and I like in board games, which is when everyone knows what's going on in Food Chain Magnate and you play with experienced players, it can change on on such a pivotal turn. You always have to just constantly be okay with changing your strategy based on what is going on. There's so much constant changing of strategies in this game. It's extremely tactical. Sure, you can. There's certain opening strategies that are good for sure, but end of day, you have to be okay with ditching that completely and going based on what's going on in that board state and what other people are doing. And that's what I love about this game, and also about Ace and XX games too. But anyways,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I will say what you talked about earlier with this game. I get razzed about this still by my podcast mates. There was a particular game where I knew that I had lost the game basically in a turn, and I was like, "Come on, Jacobson!" Like, so they constantly say that to me now. I just get so upset. But yeah, this game's perfect for that. Good pick.
All right, my number one though was number one on Board Game Geek, and now I think it's dropped down to 3 and possibly back up to 2. Whatever, it's just Board Game Geek. Who cares? That's Gloomhaven. Now I put crossover with Brian because Brian's only played Jaws of the Lion, and that became his number 19. And Gloomhaven and Jaws of the Lion I rate exactly the same because component-wise, like there's a big difference with the setup of the board, but it's still the same game. Okay, it's still the same gameplay, and I'm rating it really on that. So that's why I put him down as a crossover. And I let him know prior, like, listen, you're gonna be crossed over with me. Yeah, I still. It's been so long since I played Gloomhaven because you need people to play with you. You can do it solo, but I really like playing it at 2 and 3. 4 is fine too, but at most I would like to do 3 if I can. It scales so well. It's my favorite board game. Period. I love the how it handles co-op in this, where you're deciding and always changing strategies based on what cards you play. You may not do the exact thing you planned on doing because of what else is happening out on the board. There is a lot of fiddliness with the board setup, with the characters, with knowing the monster manipulation, but when it starts to click and that engine starts going, it is the best time. Like, I love everything about this game. I love how different the characters are, how you really have to play differently, and you also get to decide when you upgrade and level up what cards you want to take and focus on what strategies and routes you want to go based on what's best for you and your party. I love the unlocking of characters. I like toys. It's very fun, advent calendar style to just open, like, ooh, look at this guy, I love everything about this. It's when I first played this game, I played it just solo and tried every character out just to see what it's like, and so I could really teach the rules and understand the rules grid. And that weekend, I took it up to Grande Game Summit with my friends, and we decided about bringing all these different games. And after I played that game, I'm like, guys, I'm gonna bring this game, and if it's the only game we play at the convention, you guys are gonna be a-okay with it, because it is a game that when you play it multiple times, it just sinks in, and it's just such a cool experience. And sure enough, we brought Gloomhaven there, and that was pretty much the game that we played at that convention. We played maybe 4 other board games, and the rest was just games and games and games of Gloomhaven. And this was during when the second Kickstarter campaign was going on. They had new scenarios come out. Jamie Stegmaier did a scenario. We tried that one out. Like, there was tons of different options that we can go with. I still haven't finished everything in Gloomhaven, and I have Frosthaven still sitting over there. But I got that. It arrived like a month ago, but it's still I love everything about Gloomhaven. I can keep going on, but this is my number one because it just does everything that it does so well. It's immersive. The story sucks. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like from a storytelling point, what's going on from a narrative standpoint, I'm not really interested in. What I'm interested in is the gameplay. The scenario design is top level. Like every scenario of Gloomhaven, I feel like comes down to the wire and to determining what's going on. I love leveling up. I love that there's no dice for combat, but it's a deck building system where you're constantly upgrading your deck throughout the campaign. Man, all right. Anyways, Gloomhaven, my number one.
So
let's go play it.
So I will just say I had this game. I owned it. I played a few scenarios. I liked it. Then it just never got out again. But I really did pick up enough from that system. And I liked all the things about that you talked about, which is the reason I initially got it. Just the opening up the boxes. I liked the way the cards played. The card play was unique in it for me. The idea of this particular dungeon crawl drew my attention. There was a lot of cardboard in that box. It was a lot, and to get out to table, it was daunting. That's the thing that stopped me. But when it comes to the gameplay itself and the game that it is, it was a great experience. So this is one that I have long enjoyed when in the rare moment that I played it, but I can again see the love that people have for it and the why behind it. And so it doesn't shock me that this holds down your number one. Jaws of a Lion doing well to me didn't hurt that, and if anything, it helped because you could take those characters right and put them into Gloomhaven technically. So, great choice. And like I said, for me, it's a very solid game. It's just a lot to set up. That was the thing that
for sure
stopped me more than anything with this one.
Yeah, I have Jaws of the Lion, and I've only gotten a few scenarios played because. I played it with a friend, and then COVID happened, and then we just never got back to it. But I still want to go further. I think that's for me personally. The Jaws of the Lion is kind of the only way I really want to play because I just really appreciate that map setup. Like just open it up.
It's so
put
good.
The characters on the map, and I really like to the people that I am going to play this particular game with, just like who is in my game circle and who will play it with me are not like hardcore gamers. And so the fact that Jaws of the Lion steps us through it a little bit more slowly, it's easier to grasp and more fun to play with them. So, and I went to one of my my relatives, my wife's relative's wedding, like a few summers ago. And like, this guy was like, "Oh, you have a board game podcast, and he was kind of there with one of her members as a date. And he was like, "Oh, I used to love like D&D as a kid, and then I wanted to play more with her." And she's like, "I'd be up for a game. I don't think I want to do D&D." And he's like, "Something campaign, whatever." He's like, "Can you recommend anything?" And they're out in LA. And I sent him like Jaws of the Lion. And I got this phone call like a few weeks later, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. We are playing every night. We love it." So yeah.
And it does such a good job too of introducing people to the system. Yes. The first couple scenarios is just, it's a great way to learn how to play it.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's it. That's my number one, and that's my top 20. Yeah.
Well done.
Woo. We did it.
No, a solid list, and there was some crossover in there, and this is not our last list, Ryan. You are not the last one. Anthony will be dropping his on Thursday of this week, so that's the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. But I want to take a moment to congratulate you on another top 20. I know this is work to really knock this down to 20 and come up with those, but a special thanks as well to Danielle and Brian for doing their lists this year for us, to have 5 top 20 lists that we can look at and share an overall 100, not unique games, but 100 games to share over the course of this month, I think is exciting. And that's a step up for the channel. And I'm just grateful to everybody for that.
Congrats. That's awesome.
And Chad, I want to thank you for coming on because, I'm a very big fan of Punchboard Paradise. I've mentioned before, I found Punchboard Paradise one day looking up any podcast I could find that talked about PAX Premiere. And that's how I came across it. Saw a PAX Premiere episode, so I listened in, and you guys helped me out on a road trip. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll keep listening. This is pretty entertaining, you know? It's the kind of games I like the games you guys have talked about. The community you guys have with Punchboard is phenomenal. The Punch Bunch.
We're so lucky. The community really makes it what it is, and you're a part of that too, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys have a Slack server, and it's fantastic. Like, I check that pretty frequently, I feel like, too. Like, every day I'm just, like, seeing what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm just going to talk to you about your podcast, Punchboard Paradise. Look it up where you can find Punchboard Paradise podcast, which is everywhere.
Thanks.
Everywhere?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And then PPCon is
May 4th, I think.
Is May 4th. Yeah.
Yeah. If that's Thursday, May 4th, I believe. So through the 9th, which is Sunday. So
I really wish I can go. And because this is the second one ever. Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
We'll get you there eventually.
I'll get
be
there.
The last. We'll get you there eventually. It'll be good to see you in person.
Darn tootin'.
Either that, or I'll have to come to New York with my family. So one of the two.
We'll be here. Ruel's a fan of Punchboard. There you go.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot, Ruel. Thank you.
Ruel's awesome.
He is. He is.
And then I think, so is it next week we're doing our top 20 of 2023? Is it already next week?
I think it's already next week. It's already the 20th, yeah. So,
yeah.
But we are gonna share.
Sorry, top 20 of 2022, not 2023.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna share our favorite games from 2020. It is favorites month, and then we'll have some great stuff to look ahead to in the months ahead. But yeah, excited to break down those games from 2022 and really, see what shined for everybody because there's a lot of good games this year. We didn't get to them all. I know there's certain games we're not going to be able to speak to, but we got to a decent amount of them, I will say.
Tons.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is an undertaking nowadays. So
yeah.
I'll have to tune in. I'm excited. That'll be good.
Awesome. All right. Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining the chat. And I think, is it playing? There it is. Yeah, there it is. There's that outro music. I want to thank everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you.